Welcome back to the Kennel, episode 115. We disappeared for a few months, but we're back. Stevie James here, Gian Trotta. What's up?
What's up, dude? We're back. We're back in video format.
That's right.
And we're back in audio format if you're listening.
That's right. For those of you listening, we have video now. You can watch us in the flesh. As terrible as that may be, you can see us in the flesh on YouTube, probably on some social media channels too. I don't know, but definitely on YouTube. It's a little intimidating. You know, we took like 3 months off without doing any podcasts, and then we're back and we have like lights and cameras, and it's holy shit.
And I'm blinded.
Blinded by the light.
Browns.
Anyways, episode 115. This is going to be a good episode because I think a lot of you guys probably did the same thing we did. At the end of the year, we lost. Freddie Kitchens is fired. Everything is stupid. And we're 6-10, and it's sad, and we just kind of faded away.
Yeah, we were just no interest at all in talking or discussing Cleveland Browns after the disappointment that was last year, the firing of Freddie Kitchens and the letting go of John Dorsey. I think we did touch on it a little bit.
Yeah, we did the Kevin Stefanski episode. It was actually our 4th best episode ever, so we had that going for us, which is a beautiful thing. But other than that, we've kind of disappeared. Also, he moved, I moved.
Pandemic.
There's a global pandemic. I don't know if you guys heard about that. So that made things a little weird.
6 feet. 6 feet.
I don't know if this is 6 feet.
It is. This flag is 6 feet.
It's maybe up and down, though.
No, don't worry about it.
No, we're social distances. And plus, also, we helped each other move. We've seen each other about every day. So we're like quarantining together.
We're social distancing.
From everybody else. Yeah, everyone else is the problem. Anyways, let's get into it. So what we're going to do today is we're going to recap everything that we missed while we were gone, which, like I was saying, I think is going to be good for a lot of you guys who are maybe tuned out as well. This will be a good chance for us all to get caught up and back on the same page. What's this roster looking like? What's this coaching staff looking like? What's the front office looking like? We won't get into too much detail, but we'll cover all the big moving parts that have changed.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll start with the front office.
Yeah, shortly after we released our episode about Kevin Stefanski being hired as the head coach, the Browns announced that they were bringing back Andrew Berry as their general manager.
And I did feel strongly about this move prior to the announcement. I thought Andrew Berry was the obvious choice.
I think we do have you on record saying that.
I think weren't you saying something similar, or was it just me? Does credit go to me? How's this work? Do I cash in on the prize?
We'll call it a tie.
Okay.
I like to think
Started out with a tie.
I was thinking about it too. I mean, I'm good with the move. You're keeping it in house. Andrew Berry comes on as the youngest general manager in NFL history. He's been with the Browns for a few years. We're keeping Paul DePodesta, so obviously those guys are on the same page.
Sure.
And he went over to the Eagles for just 1 year, and we're able to bring him back. So it almost kind of feels like this should have been the move in lieu of doing the whole Dorsey experiment. But hindsight's 2020. It's fine. We got it together.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. The argument is now we're heading back into kind of an analytical mindset. But apparently Kevin Stefanski's on board, and if we're all on the same page and we're all on the Paul DePodesta train, I'm on board as well.
I'm on the Paul DePodesta train, and so far we're being aggressive. We'll get to that later in the episode, but the Browns ain't being no punk bitches. We're making moves.
Yes, we are.
We are the offseason champions. We have to defend our title.
2 years in a row, baby, back to back.
We have to defend last year's title as the offseason champions. So as far as the front office goes, there was some other stuff, like Elliott Wolf is gone, obviously, with Dorsey being gone and some other crap. Whatever, though. That's the main thing, is that we got Andrew Berry keeping Paul DePodesta. The analytical team analyzes on.
And we're ready to move on. As
we are into the coaching staff. So as we talked about, Kevin Stefanski. He's the man. He's the guy.
The man, the myth, the legend. The one, this goes to me. Another credit. I wanted Kevin Stefanski. I wanted Kevin Stefanski because he was the Paul DePodesta choice. And I just wanted us to finally, for once, be on the same page as an organization. And Andrew Berry being the GM, Kevin Stefanski being the coach, and Paul DePodesta being on board, I think is the sign that we're heading in that direction.
What was the word they kept saying? Alignment. That when
alignment.
When DePodesta when Stefanski was hired, they said alignment.
Organizational alignment.
Roughly 1 million times. Yeah, which we haven't had.
Nope, never.
Never, honestly.
We've said that a million times about every new regime that comes in here. We've never had this, or we've never had that.
And now we do, and we suck again.
It doesn't matter, but hopefully this is the time it's different.
So let's see what this coaching staff looks like and how aligned are they. The first one I wanted to touch on right away is our chief of staff, which is a position that Kevin Stefanski started in when he began his NFL journey. And our chief of staff is Callie Brownson. First of all, our last name's got Brown in it. Actually, Brown's on. That's her last name. Brown's on. Respect.
Callie Brown's on.
But she's obviously a woman. First full-time female head coach in the history of the Cleveland Browns.
Nice. And what is that historically for the NFL? Is that like the third female head coach?
It's got to be, we got to be at the front of that trend there for sure. Because I know that the 49ers have a female head coach because she was in that commercial.
Yeah.
Like that I said.
That's the only one I'm familiar with as well.
Yeah. See, that's the branding, man. You got to get your commercials. It's important.
Yeah, but I believe there might be another one, or maybe there's an official. I know there is an official.
Yeah, she did the ghost fumble on Duke Johnson.
Yeah, when Duke Johnson was holding the ball up and she was like, fumble to the Redskins.
God, unbelievable. But yeah, so we got her coming in as the chief of staff. She played safety, running back, and receiver for the DC Divas, which is part of a full contact tackle football women's football league.
Interesting.
Played for like 7 or 8 years. Pretty wild. They're what's interesting, I forget what this league's called, but the DC Divas are like the Patriots of that league, only better. They've won like 12 or 13 consecutive divisional titles, a bunch of championships, and she was like a major part of that team.
Well, she played 3 positions.
Yep, and then after that, she went on and did some college coaching of some kind, and then she came into the New York Jets as a scouting intern for a year, went over to the Bills then she went and did her college thing. Then she went to the Bills as a coaching intern, and now here she is with the Cleveland Browns as a full-time chief of staff, which is that's an important position. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, and it's great to see Kevin Stefanski giving someone that opportunity in his first role as a head coach. He spoke about how him earning that position for the Vikings was pivotal to his career in the NFL. So
hell yeah, you learn everything. You're the chief of staff, so you're seeing how everything works and interacts. I mean, that's like the perfect way to start if you want to build up to a head coach, which her goal is to one day be a head coach.
Sure.
Pretty cool. Anyways, moving on. Offensive coordinator, Alex Van Pelt.
And it was a point of discussion for this head coach on whether he would or would not have an OC, seeing as he was the OC for the Vikings. And he did mention prior to the hiring of Alex Van Pelt that it was whatever was better for the team is the route he would take. So
I'd argue Stefanski calling the plays is probably what's best for the team.
You think so?
Probably. I mean, so looking into Alex Van Pelt, the thing that I'm not nervous about it, but just a little bit of background on him. So he played quarterback for the Bills for a handful of years in the early 2000s, mostly as a backup. This is his first real offensive coordinator gig. He was the offensive coordinator and the quarterback coach for the Bills in 2009, but that was a disaster of a season, and he was like in over his head. Since then, he's been a quarterback coach for most of the past 10 years with like the Bucs, Packers, Bengals. So this is his first real OC job. He has very limited experience calling plays and being in that situation. Now, with that being said, if Stefanski feels comfortable with him calling the plays, and you can obviously the best case scenario is a situation where you have the OC leading the charge on calling the plays, and the head coach can kind of oversee the game. And when the head coach wants a certain play called or a certain series of plays called, they can lean in and be like, "Yo, Van Pelt,
this is what we're gonna do here."
Yeah, this is what we're gonna do. And then Van Pelt goes, "That's right. Yes, we are."
Yes, sir. Yes.
So I would like that situation, but realistically, from an experience standpoint, Stefanski is probably better suited, at least in the short term, to be calling the plays. But that's something we can experiment with in the preseason.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it goes. Either way, what I like to point out is his willingness to accept anybody as the OC, anybody as the play caller, whatever is better for the team. So that's the most important part. It's another thing we've never had. We've always had the Hugh Jackson, I'm going to call the plays, the Freddie Kitchens, I'm going to call the plays. And finally, we're seeing somebody it's whatever's best for the organization, which is something we want our players to say. And it's nice to see that come from the leadership as well, the coaching staff and the head coach.
It's got to start from the top. Stefanski seems like a chill dude, and that's probably something we need right now.
Sure.
Someone to keep it chill.
For sure. Onto the offensive line. Bill Callahan coming in. People say he's the best O-line coach in the NFL.
That's what people say. And it's so funny because I haven't heard that before until like this year, and we're getting ready to hire him. Oh, Bill Callahan, he's the best offensive line coach in the game. I'm like, oh, no shit.
I heard that as well about who's the guy we had with Hugh Jackson, the big guy.
Yeah, Bob
Wiley.
He's one of the best or whatever.
I was told that. Yeah.
And then last year we had some other guy, and he's one of the best from the Packers, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well respected around the league. Everybody wanted to hire him. Good thing he went to the Browns.
Yeah, that's right.
For 1 year.
That's right. Yeah. So
best in the NFL.
So Bill Callahan, I think, is interesting though, because he's been around for a long time. He was the Raiders head coach in 2002 and in 2003, and on top of that, last year he was the interim head coach for the Redskins for 11 games. So he's coming fresh off some, albeit interim experience, but fresh off some head coaching experience. Sure. So he could be helpful for someone like Stefanski, who's never been a head coach. So he has someone that he can, lean on a little as a confidant, as someone who's been through this before.
Sure. Well, it's always nice to see that for sure. Is building a staff with experience when you're a young head coach in the NFL.
It's crucial.
Yeah.
You have to do that.
So he's coming off of being the Redskins interim, and where was he before?
He's been all over the place. Bunch of different teams, mostly as an offensive line coach. His only head coaching experience was last year, and then his brief stint with the Raiders.
Right.
Other than that, offensive line coach for like 7 different teams.
Interesting. Well,
so, he's the best.
On to wide receivers and our pass game coordinator, Chad O'Shea.
Yep, he's replacing friend of Landry and Beckham, Anthony Henry, which I was a little surprised to see him go, but in looking into Chad O'Shea, I feel really good about it. So he's going to be the pass game coordinator and do the wide receivers. He was the Dolphins offensive coordinator last year, which was his first time being an offensive coordinator. Previous to that, he was the Patriots wide receiver coach for almost 10 years.
Huh.
So I like that.
Sure, I'm sure you do.
I like having a receivers coach that has some offensive coordinator experience, that's been with the best organization in the history of pro sports for 10 years. That's good to have.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's funny, though, thinking on how much everyone was talking about Anthony Henry coming back and being retained with the staff, with the Freddie Kitchens staff, and how he coached Landry and Beckham in LSU, and then 1 year stint with Freddie Kitchens. I mean, I guess not technically 1 year because he was retained, but my point is, how quickly he's replaced, and now we move on to this guy and look at his experience. Pat's wide receiver coach for so many years. Did you think that's good? But at the same time, I don't know. I liked Anthony Henry. That would have been the name I would have kept within the organization, and definitely kept in the staff.
I think that's fair. He's going to the Cowboys now, so he's I don't feel bad for him.
Me neither. It's the league. It's the NFL. It's what happens.
Yeah, so I'm glad he was picked up right away. One guy we did keep around, Stump Mitchell. That's right.
That dude rules.
I do like Stumpy a lot. And he's going to stay on as our run game coordinator, running back coach, same role he had last year. And, I mean, what can you say? Chubb's the best back in the NFL as far as I'm concerned. You got Kareem Hunt there, and no reason to slow down.
Sure, and I mean, you saw the kind of impact Kareem Hunt had in the game with Nick Chubb and what it did to Nick Chubb as well.
Yeah, dude. Should have had the rushing title. Freddie Kitchens blew that at the end of the year, man. Blew it so hard.
Yeah. Well,
sorry. I know.
To be fair, Derrick Henry was a beast last year.
Derrick Henry was also a beast, but we could have... Nick Chubb had the lead going into week 17. All we had to do, and he got like 13 carries or something for no reason.
Yeah, but then didn't Derrick Henry have like 200 yards or something?
Yeah, but Nick Chubb could have had 200 yards. Sorry. Anyways.
Sure, no, I get it.
Moving on, defensive coordinator. We bring in Joe Woods.
And this was another position that obviously bringing in someone that's so offensive-minded like Kevin Stefanski, coming off of being an OC and just being overall an offensive-minded guy, it was important to bring in a good defensive coordinator. So this was a position that we were keeping our eye on during the search. And Joe Woods, how do you feel about Joe Woods?
I feel good about Joe Woods. I don't know a lot about him, but there are some things I like about him. So he's primarily been a defensive backs coach since 2004 for Bucks, Vikings, Raiders, Broncos. But on top of that, he does have some defensive coordinator experience. He was with the Denver Broncos in 2017 and 2018. Now, in 2017, the Broncos typically have a good defense. 2017, it was not so good. They ranked 22nd. But going into the next season, he was able to get it up to 13th. So that's a significant improvement, jumping up 9 spots in his 2 years as a defensive coordinator. And then last year, he's the San Francisco defensive backs coach, which obviously San Francisco, arguably second best defense in the league, go all the way to the Super Bowl. So you got to think he had something to do with that. And sure. I like that he specializes in defensive backs because this is a passing league nowadays. We do have Greedy Williams and Denzel Ward back there. We do have a lot of influx going on at the safety position. So I think having someone like him in charge of that can kind of help steady the ship and focus on our strengths. And when it comes to like up front with Myles Garrett, I mean, let Myles Garrett just be Myles Garrett. You know what I mean? Let's get this back end strong and right.
It'd be nice to set the tone defensively with someone like Joe Woods back there as defensive coordinator.
I like him. I'm optimistic. I mean, again, he's young. He's only been a real defensive coordinator for a couple years, so there's a little bit of risk there. But I think overall it's something that I feel good about giving him the chance. I feel good about it.
Sure. Yeah, I'm with it. I like the idea.
And last coach we want to touch on, of course, there's a million other defensive coordinator positions and positional groups, but in looking over the names, none of them really ring any bells. I could have done a deeper dive, but I didn't. And it is what it is. So that's where we're at.
The Kennel, we're back. One episode at a time.
One episode at a time. Last guy, special teams coach. We're keeping him, Mike Prefer, which I'm not surprised because he was with Minnesota for like 10 years, which is where Stefanski was, so they're reunited. And that's something you like to see.
And he's overall just a great coach.
He's the best special teams coach in the league.
He did improve our special teams.
Yeah, he might actually be. It's not like the offensive line situations. All right, so that wraps up the front office and the coaching staff. Now, to get into the meat, the roster.
And what we did with the roster.
All right, so breaking down the roster, I did this kind of chronologically for the most part, then I kind of started to fall off, but you get the idea here. So leading off, we're going to start with, there's been a lot of talk about this, especially in Cleveland. We signed a fullback from the Vikings practice squad. So bringing a fullback onto the roster, there's another one we bring in later, but finally, I'd like to see the fullback coming in.
Started out with Johnny Stanton from the Vikings. Well, their practice squad, but still the Vikings.
That's fine. Bring in some fullbacks. So there is
that connection with Stefanski.
Yeah, you would think he knows
and the coaching staff.
If he's at least decent.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. We did have to terminate some contracts. Some of these I was a little sad about. We got rid of T.J. Carey, Demetrius Harris, Eric Kush, and Adarius Taylor.
T.J. Carey makes me sad for sure. Demetrius Harris, Eric Kush,
Eric Kush, no.
Darius Taylor,
Kush, cool last name.
Sure.
Cool last name for sure. Kush, respect.
T.J. Carey, it does make me sad to see him go. I feel like he put in some grind in as a Cleveland Brown, so it would have been nice to have kept him, but I get it. But depth is important, so I'm curious to see what we're going to do with those kinds of pieces missing from our roster.
Yeah, a lot of question marks with the secondary. We've brought in some guys. We'll get into it, but it's going to look a lot different than it did last year, with the exception of Greedy and Denzel.
Sure. And speaking of looking different, we're talking about our middle backing core and two guys that were let go who were pivotal to our defense in the past, upwards of 5 years, seasons at least for both of them. Christian Kirksey and Joe Schobert. Christian Kirksey was cut and Joe Schobert was let go. He was let to enter free agency and unfortunately was signed by another team. We'll start with Christian Kirksey. He was cut and then signed with the Pats, a $16 million deal for 2 years.
With the Packers.
Yep.
What
did I say?
The Pats.
The Patriots. No, the Packers.
The Packers, yeah. 2 years, $16 million deal.
P-A-C-K-E-E-R-S.
Yes, excellent. So he gets a 2-year deal, $16 million, $8 million a year for him. I think that's a great deal for Christian Kirksey. I feel like we could have kept him at that price, but I understand we want to move on or whatever. I don't know. He's fan favorite. He's one of my favorite players. I know he's been hurt the past couple of years, but I think he's an awesome linebacker and he's a big presence in the locker room.
Not good enough for us.
That's the thing I always think of too. It's like, okay, so the Packers, who were 13-3 last year, they signed Christian Kirksey right away, but he wasn't good enough to stay on the Browns.
Yeah, that's concerning.
That logic is weird to me, but, you know, we've had him in-house, so we know something that they don't know, so that can have an effect on it, I guess.
But what do we know that they don't know? That he's injury-prone?
Well...
I mean, yeah, I get it. I guess
how bad the injury could be.
Maybe.
It's a way you could look at it, perhaps.
But there are physicals and stuff like that, so that feels like the transparency on those types of things in the NFL is pretty even keel.
No, I'm with you. That's what I always think. When we have tons of cap space and we let a player go, and a team with less cap space with a way better record signs them, it's like, why didn't we just keep him?
Yeah, why couldn't we just keep him? Well, a big part of that is Joe Schobert. Letting Joe Schobert walk. If we're letting Joe Schobert walk, that means we're putting a lot of weight on those two rookies, Sonone Takitaki and Mack Wilson.
Which I have a lot of faith in Mack Wilson. Sione Takitaki, the jury's still out, but I think Mack Wilson is a stud.
I get that. I'm all with it, and I support giving them more play time to develop and prove it out there and kind of show us that they're capable. But it's important to also have the players to replace them with if they don't work out or if they get injured. And part of that, I think, would have been to solidify our middle backer position with Joe Schobert, or even keeping Christian Kirksey, like you said.
Yeah, see, I understand why we didn't keep Joe Schobert. He signed a 5-year, $53.75 million deal with the Jags. That's a massive deal for Joe Schobert.
Well deserved.
Oh, I agree, but I can understand why the Browns wouldn't want to sign that. It's the Kirksey one that I think you could have picked up a short contract. But yeah, I can understand a 5-year deal. That's probably a significant cap hit.
Well, that's kind of my point is you let go of Joe Schobert. You allowed him to enter free agency and sign with a different team. But prior to that, you chose to cut Christian Kirksey.
Yeah, we just...
Seems irresponsible.
Yeah, just cleaned out the middle linebackers. I mean, they must really like Mack Wilson and Takitaki.
That must be what it is.
So that what are you going to do? And maybe they'll kill it. Speaking of releasing veterans, we also split ways with safety Morgan Burnett after just 1 year.
Which is fair.
I'm fine with it.
He's pretty injury prone.
And he's pretty okay.
I mean, he played well with us.
Yeah, he played pretty okay.
Until he got hurt.
Sure.
Played well.
Yeah, he played pretty okay.
Played well. Anyways,
above average. All right. I guess.
The Browns place a second-round tender on Kareem Hunt.
That's right.
So he's going to be sticking around, it looks like.
That's right. Unless the team makes a crazy offer for him, which I don't think is going to happen, especially not with
his
all the stuff going on and everything.
Yeah, the fact that he was pulled over for some marijuana-related stuff. And
it wasn't his, bro.
But it wasn't his. And he didn't get in trouble for it, so.
I've never gotten pulled over with someone else's marijuana in my car.
Me neither.
Hey, what do I know? But anyways, circling back to what I was saying earlier when we started off the roster segment, fullbacks, man. We traded for fullback Andy Janovic from the Denver Broncos, traded a 2021 7th-round pick. Love it. Bring in all the fullbacks.
2 fullbacks.
We got 2 fullbacks.
Probably don't keep both, no?
Nah, probably not, no.
But it's nice to have a fullback.
I mean, they're practice squad eligible. You can throw Johnny Stanton on the practice squad again and roll with Janovic. I think Janovic is the clear choice over him. But we'll see what happens in training camp. I'm just excited to have a fullback and a coach that builds everything off of running the ball.
Sure.
Zone run concepts, 2 tight ends, fullback, spread them out, bring them back in, pound the rock, chub.
Yeah.
Ready for that.
And it's the kind of football that we've talked about the Browns needing to play to be successful in the AFC North. And speaking of running the ball, being successful at running the ball and being successful in the AFC North, we also signed Jack Conklin.
Big signing.
Big
signing.
Big man.
Big man, big signing. He was the top available offensive lineman in free agency, according to pretty much everybody. And we were able to bring him on. So obviously he's from the Titans. He was the 8th overall pick in 2016, and he's played like a top 10 NFL draft pick. He led the way for Derrick Henry last year, who, as we spoke about earlier, led the NFL in rushing. This is his right tackle. This is the guy he's primarily running behind. And the Titans wanted to re-sign him. But we just outbid him. We're like, we'll give him all the money. I forget what this contract was, but like it's not insane. But we paid him good. I think it's like $53 million for 3 years or something like that.
Well, and we also solidified that he's likely going to stay at right tackle. So yes. We solidify that spot, which hasn't been very consistent.
No.
And it's just nice to have a good right tackle.
And another huge signing, and this is what at the beginning of the episode I said that we may be back to the analyticals game, and when we were rolling with Podesta, Sashi Brown, and all these guys the first time, Andrew Berry included, we traded 1 million picks, we cut a bunch of contracts, we didn't bring in anyone exciting. This year we're proving it's totally different. We already mentioned Jack Conklin, and now we can talk about Austin Hooper. Not only did we bring in the top free agent tight end, but we made him the highest paid tight end in football.
Which, how do you feel about that contract? I'll let you start with this one.
I feel good about it. So the contract is steep, but at the same time, the salary cap keeps going up. And in like 2 years, it's like a 4-year deal. In 2 years, he's going to be like middle of the road paid tight end. You're going to see guys like Kelsey get ridiculous extensions, and some other guys that are coming up around the tight end position, especially as that position becomes more important. And I think it's going to be interesting because Stefanski loves to use 2 tight ends, and we have Njoku coming up in a contract year. And now we're going to have Austin Hooper and David Njoku on the field together. And this will be a big prove-it year for David Njoku. And I think this is all of us. Dude, this offense is those 2 players dramatically improved this offense. Baker Mayfield loves throwing to tight ends. Baker Mayfield needs protection. We have 2 great running backs. I think it's a brilliant move. It seems like you don't like it, though.
Alex Van Pelt and Kevin Stefanski have both touched based on the fact that they're going to run a very tight end heavy system. They love the idea of having multiple tight ends to use as weapons and laying them out on the field in various different positions or lineups. I mean, but my main concern is that we picked up a tight end who is really only a pass catcher.
He can block.
His run grading block is his run blocking grade isn't very great. So it's a steep contract for a tight end that's basically one-dimensional. But I do agree he's definitely the best tight end in the market. Was the best tight end in the market, so it's a big move by the Browns to make and keep pushing offensively to build a great team and build weapons around Baker Mayfield, which obviously are important.
Extremely important.
Extremely important.
Yeah, I think he's. I'll admit I haven't looked up his blocking grade, but I was under the impression he's about an average blocking tight end.
Maybe average, maybe below average, but he's.
He's a great receiver. Last year he would have broke 1,000 yards if he didn't get hurt towards the end of the year.
Right.
So that's what you like to see, and he's young. He's like 24 years old. So a lot of upside there. Definitely digging it. Having a proven tight end out the gate. It's speaking of helping Baker Mayfield. Bringing in another quarterback, Case Keenum, to back him up.
A nice veteran.
Who,
by the way, knows he's a veteran, knows he's the backup, and is happy with that role. Did you see him kind of poop on Mary Kay Cabot for asking, like...
Yeah.
Like, trivial questions?
Did I watch him poop on Mary Kay?
Specifically
a Cleveland steamer?
On top of her.
A Cleveland
chest.
steamer?
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's why it's called a Cleveland steamer.
It's got really inappropriate.
He's coming into the team and
really making his mark. Yeah.
Making his way downtown.
Oh, poor Mary Kay.
I see no rushing. Anyways, yeah. So you didn't see that?
Were you looking up Austin Hooper's?
Yeah, it wasn't. I couldn't find it.
You got to pay for Pro Football Focus or whatever.
Elite or whatever. I'm not that cool yet.
No, I'm not doing that.
The Mary Kay Cabot thing, basically she was asking like gotcha questions about...
Oh, a member of the Cleveland media asking gotcha questions?
About him coming in and the idea of him being the backup and if that was like, if he was comfortable with that and this and that. And yeah, he made a great point to bring up the fact that him and his agent actually looked for a team like this. They knew that this was going to be the market, what the market looked like this year, and it was teams that were in the need for a veteran, reliable backup, and that he was happy to take on that role and definitely happy to come in here to a team like Cleveland Browns and help someone like Baker Mayfield.
Hey, for $6 million a year, I'd kill for that role. He's getting $10 million guaranteed. $10 million to back up Baker Mayfield. Sick.
Just sit on the bench.
And do cool stuff, practice and do badass shit. And I like it too because he's about the same height as Baker. So I always am in favor of building an offense around, the quarterback, and then when you have a backup quarterback, make sure that the backup is similar to the starter. So God forbid the starter goes down, you don't have to completely reinvent your offense bringing in the backup.
That makes sense. It does.
So that's important to me. And, if Baker goes down, we have big problems. But I think if you have a situation where Baker has to miss a few drives, or even a game, Case Keenum's someone who can step in and keep the train rolling.
Sure. Man, he's just a good veteran presence in the back there.
Yeah, he seems like a good guy too.
Let's talk about some of these smaller.
Oh yeah, one more thing about Case Keenum. Sorry.
One more thing about Case Keenum.
One more thing. I apologize. he was with the Vikings when they went to the playoffs in Stefanski's system, so he does already have a good understanding of the system, so he can help Baker learn that, especially in a situation where no one's allowed to like really hang out with each other.
There's a little familiarity there for sure.
Big time. I think that's helpful.
It is. I agree.
You go ahead.
I was going to say, let's talk about some of these smaller prove-it deals.
We got a lot of those.
We do.
A lot of those.
We'll start with B.J. Goodson, linebacker.
B.J. Goodson.
B.J. Good. B.J. Good, son.
Nice. So you're saying he gives good BJs, son.
Okay. I don't know.
Okay, I don't know. That's what you said.
So, well, we did touch base on the fact that depth at linebacker was needed and necessary and important, and we're kind of shitting the bed there by letting go of Christian Kirksey and Joe Schober. But we got B.J. Good, son, and he's coming in. He's coming in as a much-needed depth at linebacker.
It shouldn't be funny.
And he's coming from the Packers.
Yep.
Spent 2019 with the Packers. Began his career with the Giants.
Cool.
He's entering his 5th NFL season.
Cool. I'm into it. 1 year prove-it deal, which I like. We brought in kick returner. I had to put him on here. JoJo Natson. I had to put him on because JoJo is the name of your dog.
JoJo is the name of my dog, and also the name of this returner. It's actually a nickname of his. He's not sure how he got it.
Nice.
I looked this up prior.
Nice. Another one, Andrew Billings from the Bengals. He has spent the last 4 seasons with the Bengals. He's an interior defensive lineman, big body in the middle. Definitely going to be a rotational piece. And I love signing guys from within the division because, they're always fired up to play against their former team.
Sure. And a guy that I'm very happy to have join because I have something about... I like something about white veteran safeties. And I'm about it. So
okay.
Andrew Sendejo is coming into the growing safety room of the Cleveland Browns. Coming from the Vikings. He was with the Vikings for quite a while.
So you have a thing for old white safeties?
I could be wrong about him. He was with us. He was with the Vikings from 2011 to 2018, but last year was with the Vikings and Eagles. Played for both teams. I do. I like white veteran safeties.
Specifically.
It's
very interesting.
So, Andrew Sendejo, welcome to the Browns.
That's right. He started his career with the UFL Sacramento Mountain Lions.
I didn't know that.
UFL was a league of some kind.
UFL Sacramento Mountain Lions.
Yeah, the United Football League. That was a thing that happened. It happened. Anyways, moving on. A couple more 1-year deals for the secondary and a couple former first-round picks. Cornerback Kevin Johnson, who was drafted by the Texans, played there for 4 years, and went over to the Bills for a year, or vice versa. I forget. I might have that backwards. And then the other one being safety Carl Joseph, another former first-round pick. He was with the Raiders for 4 years. So we're bringing in 2 guys into the secondary, both former first-round picks that have both not been terrible, but have definitely underperformed their first-round value. But we're bringing them both in on 1-year prove-it deals. How you feel?
I like 1-year prove-it deals because it's very low risk, high reward potential there. It's kind of like Demarius Randall, and that ended up being a great 1-year prove-it deal, but he didn't really give us anything after that.
Oh yeah, I didn't put him on here, but that's a good point. He actually signed with the Raiders.
Did he?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Please verify. But that feels right in my soul.
He does. He joins the Raiders on a 1-year prove-it deal.
That's right.
Going to Las Vegas.
That's right. It kind of sucks for him, man. He had an opportunity to sign a good extension with us. Apparently, we did want to extend him, but he wanted to bet on himself and hold out for more money. And then he was kind of a knucklehead and had to deal with a bunch of injuries. So what are you going to do? One point I want to make about these prove-it deals is they're nice because they're 1 year, low commitment, keep the cap. Keep the cap situation under control. It also encourages them to try hard to get that bigger contract. Also, you don't have to keep them if they don't do well. But also what's interesting is it sets the Browns up to cash in on some compensatory picks. I don't know why I can't say it. Oh, my God. Compensatory. Huh?
You got it.
Yeah, compensatory picks. So in the new collective bargaining agreement, I'm just reading this from ESPN, free agents who sign 1-year deals that still make at least $1.75 million factor into the gains in the losses in the compensatory formula.
Compensatory.
God damn it. Not so coincidentally, of all the free agents the Browns have secured via 1-year deals, only one was signed for less than the $1.75 million. So not only do you bring these guys in on the prove-it deals, you don't have to commit to them if you don't want to, but also we have a good chance to get some comp picks. Which, have you ever noticed the Browns get very few comp picks?
Yeah. I don't know what that's based on. It's probably because we're constantly making crazy big moves in the draft. We constantly have 3 first-round draft picks.
And then we cut them after 2 years.
Yeah. And then we have, what do? We probably also, spend a bunch of money on free agency.
Yeah, who knows?
Because every other year we rotate a regime, and then they're bringing in their big free agent signing.
It's so bad. How it works is it's when a player leaves in free agency. So I think theoretically we should get something for Joe Schobert, or at least be in the running for something. I don't know. Shit's confusing. If you know how it works, let us know on Twitter at Football Kennel. I'd appreciate that. Or you can comment on this video.
Comment below.
Weird. I don't know how we're going to do this moving forward.
Comment
this
below.
Weird. Almost forgot we were on video. Anyways, last guy. Pretty cool deal. I think everyone got a little overexcited about it based on what I was listening to, but definitely still a cool deal. We bring in defensive end Morris Claiborne on a 2-year deal.
Isn't it Adrian Claiborne?
What did I say?
Morris.
Son of a bitch. Yeah, Adrian Claiborne. Like I said the first time, Adrian Claiborne. I think Morris Claiborne was a player, though.
I don't know.
I'm telling you. You talk about this guy while I confirm.
Wait, I want to look at Morris Claiborne. Okay, well, whatever. I'll talk about Adrian Claiborne, the player we actually signed. He signed a 2-year, $6 million contract, and he's pretty good. He played with the Falcons, but he also had some time with the Patriots. Wasn't he a first-round pick? First-round pick?
Yeah, 10 years ago.
He's a nice veteran presence. He'll probably be... he's someone that will be respected by our defensive linemen, and it'll be nice to have someone like Myles Garrett, someone who could have the impact like Myles Garrett, who he's going to have upwards of 10-plus sacks. He's probably going to come up to Adrian Claiborne, respect him as a player, and even ask him for some advice. So it'll be nice to have someone of Myles Garrett's caliber, to have someone to turn to and ask for advice on a plair basis.
Yeah, apparently Adrian Claiborne can only rush from the right side of the line because he's got some kind of weird condition.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I heard that on the radio. I'm dead serious. I haven't looked into it yet, but I'm just passing it along to you guys. And for the record, Morris Claiborne is in fact a person and an NFL player. He's a cornerback. He's on the Chiefs right now.
Nice.
Been in the league for a while.
So you know that name exists.
Yes, I am not. I was still wrong. But
super wrong.
It felt
sort of right.
So that wraps it up for all of the major moves the Browns have made. We have probably missed something, so if we missed anything, let us know. We're going to be back on for once a week. I'm calling it right now. Once a week, we're going to be doing this.
He makes the calls.
Maybe we'll release them every Sunday. That seems like an idea. That's an idea. Maybe. So probably that.
We'll get into the groove again.
Yeah, we have to get into the groove. I will say this: the NFL draft is approaching. They're going on with it. So,
might be a virtual draft though,
which could be interesting. I think it's going to be the most watched draft ever because why not?
Everyone's at home. This is the only thing that's going to happen.
Did you know next year's draft is in Cleveland?
Are you serious?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I had no idea.
I knew that, but I forgot. We talked about it at one point.
So
that should be sick. When we're allowed to reconvene. We'll be reconvening in Cleveland for the draft.
Yeah.
Hopefully we are picking last.
What you actually didn't know is that we're holograms.
Oh.
So we are actually accurately social distancing.
We're not even we're not. It's not that we're holograms. I just edited this together. So like right here.
We just happen to have 2 of the same table.
Yeah,
cloths,
I cut this flag in half
banners,
and mailed it to the other half to Gian, and then I'm just like perfectly lining it up. Yeah, that's what we're doing. It's totally legit. But anyways, the draft is on the 23rd, so we're probably going to do 2 more episodes between now and then if all goes to plan. One of those episodes will definitely be talking a lot about the draft. Probably not going to do any mock drafts, but we'll get deep into, maybe the top 10 because the Browns picked 10th, so we'll get in depth about the top 10.
Top 10 mock draft.
Talk about the Browns or something. Definitely talk about the Browns.
Oh, that's definitely
that'll happen. Yeah.
Not or something, or for sure.
Yeah. There we go again, talking about the Browns. Son of a bitch. We're back. But yeah, anyways, make sure you follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Football Kennel, and now, of course, on YouTube, again, at Football Kennel. Subscribe, rate 5 stars. I gotta learn
where the subscribe button is on YouTube.
Yeah, subscribe on YouTube, wherever it is. I forget where it is. I think it's... It's over here.
Subscribe.
No, I think it's down here.
Subscribe.
Wait, bottom whatever. Subscribe.
Wherever it is, just click it.
Make sure if you're listening on your favorite podcast app to leave a rating, a 5-star review. We should look at the reviews, see if we have any.
We haven't. I get notifications.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Technology.
I like, at least like the suspense of maybe we have one, the hope, You just killed the hope right away.
My bad.
Anyways, guys, we'll try to be back every week. We're going to keep trying to make it better and better. If you have any cool Brown shit you want to send us, we'll take it. All right, cool. Signing off.
Go Browns.
Go Browns.